All right. The fight intensifying in Iowa. Republicans are stumping for votes there. That caucus, which signals the beginning of primary season, is just days away. Here to discuss what's at stake, Kellyanne Conway. She's president of the polling company. She's also a senior advisor to GOP candidate Newt Gingrich. Also with us, Democratic strategist Richard Socarides. I got that right?
You did.
Oh, excellent. Richard is a former White House senior advisor.
Kellyanne, the Clinton administration.
The Clinton administration, yes.
All right.
The good old days.
So,
even she thinks it's the good old days. I love it.
It sure looks like that now.
That's part of the Gingrich campaign.
The last great Republican president. We all are pining for the days of it.
No. Romney's, is he going to win?
He may, but look, he spent about $10 million and many days in Iowa. He's been running as a full-time job for president for 5 years now, and he basically has 24% of the vote in Iowa to show for it. He has 110% name ID, 24% of the vote. So there's obviously great hesitation about Mitt Romney, including in Iowa. Boston, for Romney, has done a very clever thing this last couple weeks. They've positioned him as the alternative to Ron Paul and Newt Gingrich. Meanwhile, he's just always been the undisputed frontrunner. I'm just concerned that Mitt Romney has no bold jobs and growth plan.
Kellyanne, we have a Democrat on today to trash Romney. If
this is going great for me.
You're our Republican representative today. This is part of the problem, I think.
You're exactly right.
How did Newt end up blowing up?
He hasn't blown up. We're where we always expected to be in Iowa, number 3 or number 4, about 15% of the vote, 17% of the vote. He'll get a ticket out of Iowa. He's running very strongly in places like South Carolina and Florida, which are also early states. And most specifically, if people, other candidates, including Romney, surprisingly, want to talk about Newt. Newt wants to talk about jobs and growth. He's on the jobs and growth tour. He's a 15% flat tax, 12.5% corporate rate. There's no really bold plan out there by Mitt Romney. And that's not trashing him. It's really curious to me because he positions himself as the job creator, as the business guy. I'm going to go to Washington. If Washington were a business, it wouldn't exist. It would have been bankrupt. I don't know any business that has $14 trillion in debt and lives to see another day.
Richard, you might as well just sit back.
Listen, this is great. So far, this has gone great for the Democrats. I mean, I shouldn't,
You'd love for the president to be able to run against a Newt or a Ron Paul or something, right?
Or Rick Santorum. I mean, it looks. I mean, I really think Kellyanne does a great job, and I've been there before. So I mean, that was great. But, you talk about we've been outspent and lower expectations. We're going to get a ticket out. It's great. But the two important narratives that are emerging, I think, this morning with just a couple days to go are about, number one, that the Romney campaign now looks extremely clever, very strategic, and most importantly, very lucky, because nobody's come after them yet. Because everybody else has had their kind of moment, no one's really come after them. And then the other important narrative, I think, is Rick Santorum. I mean, Rick Santorum could really be second, I think, on Tuesday. And I think right now, I mean, these things are still very fluid, hard to predict, but I would predict Romney 1, Santorum 2nd, Ron Paul 3rd. And I think, it's going to be a big story. But with that, out of Iowa, it looks like Romney. I mean, Romney's going to have to now run against Rick Santorum, who's like the Barry Goldwater without the gravitas,
Do you think that out of Iowa, Rick Santorum can sort of coalesce the evangelical vote around him? I mean, right now you've got Rick Perry coming out just slightly behind Newt Gingrich's numbers in Iowa. So it's not clear. I mean, maybe Santorum does better than we think he's going to do and is a strong second. If that happens, is he sort of the legitimate conservative threat to Romney going forward, or is it just a matter of time before it's all over?
I think that's what will happen. And he has a credible claim to it. But his problem is that he's so deeply conservative and so out of step with the mainstream, not only the mainstream of the country.
This is an election based on the economy, not based on social issues.
But he's voted for lots of earmarks. He voted for Medicare prescription.
Well, that's right. He's got all
the. He's an old friend. I think he's a wonderful public servant. But now the scrutiny on Rick Santorum is starting to reveal his record on Medicare Part D, lots of the bridge to nowhere, just sort of these symbols that really irk
Washington.
The right.
He is such a Washington insider. But he will lay claim to that Tea Party.
Why are we talking so much about Rick Santorum?
Well, because he's had this amazing uptick in the polls.
What happens in 2 weeks, assuming Romney passes through.
Well,
what does Obama do? The critical question now is, what does the Obama campaign
well,
do?
they want to run against
they've been
Romney.
sitting around very happily smiling, watching everybody implode. They want the show to go on. The show's going to stop very quickly. What happens then? Then they have to start campaigning.
Well, and they're very well positioned. They are, setting up shop in a lot of these places, like Iowa. I mean, the other secondary story in Iowa is that the Obama campaign is really doing a lot of work in Iowa now and is really prepared to run very competitively in Iowa. Listen, I think that this will play itself out and end very quickly. I think Romney will, by a month from now, it will be clear that Romney is the Republican nominee.
Robert Reich has started this rumor that Hillary Clinton could be the VP. How much harder does it get?
It's been out there for
a while, but he refueled it yesterday.
Revived it
How
yesterday.
much harder does it get for Republicans if Hillary Clinton is the VP?
Oh,
on the
it would be
ticket?
terribly hard because she's a much more disciplined public servant than Joe Biden, but it would also be
One way to put it.
It would also be an admission. I mean, he makes for great TV, but it's your business. But it would also be a tremendous, I think, admission that Obama actually needs the Clintons.
They won't
overall,
do
but
it.
it won't
They
happen.
won't do
It
it.
never happens. You always hear this when an incumbent runs for re-election. I think Obama has a lot of trouble, though, including a place like Iowa. Iowa is one of 10 states that equal 132 electoral votes, where Obama won in 2008. But Republicans won at least one statewide race in 2010, and Obama's numbers are under 50% approval.
I don't think he has a chance in these caucuses coming up.
He's got to. There you go. He's got to run against. He's got to. Look, we're so happy that we don't have to defend Obamacare or its inspirational blueprint Romney-care. But Obama's, his numbers are down all around town, particularly on economic issues. He's been under 50% for 2 straight years on the economy, on taxes.
You saw the Rasmussen poll. Last time it was 44 Obama, 41 Romney. You saw the one yesterday or the day before, 45.
That's why
45-39.
Yeah, listen, that's why the White House wants to run against Romney.
Yeah.
The White House has spent many years and a lot of
People at
dollars
Politico are very concerned.
being prepared to run against Romney.
Listen, it'll be a very interesting race, and Romney would definitely be the hardest person for the Democrats to run against.
It's just not true.
But Obama has a lot going for himself. I mean, he's personally well liked. People understand he's had difficult problems. And I think the economy is turning. I think the economy is going to start to turn around.
People just
That's going to be the
believe
key.
that.
Isn't it mostly the double you know versus double you don't? And it's really not the question of where the economy is at, but where it's moving. If the delta is positive, if the unemployment rate continues to trickle down, even at a minor point,
extremely helpful.
It's going to be much more difficult to beat
very helpful to the
But the
Democrats.
president very wrongly, he focused on deficit reduction this year instead of jobs. I think that was a real big
And
error.
healthcare reform.
And healthcare reform. That's just not where people are.
We can debate that
It's
stuff.
really,
Well, you can look at the
it's really where
polls
the
and know
jobs are
where
going to
that's
be
gotten.
in September and August, in August, September, October. Then that's really going to determine what's happening.
Absolutely, and we've got a long way to go, and we see how quickly
All right,
this
we got it.
economy
We have to take a
changes.
break, and we also have some information on those islands. You heard,
Reedy?
Yeah, the Caroline Islands. They're on the equator in the North Central Pacific, right near New Guinea, south of Guam. It was actually the last stop where the ships were going to Pearl Harbor that they stopped in 1941, because in World War I, Japan built a big base there. So that's where the very first place to celebrate the New Year happens to be the Caroline.
It's amazing what you learn on this show every morning. That's why I love this show.
You do love it.
I do, and I'd like this. I was telling you, this is my first time on the show.
I know, and you said you were really excited to be here.
I know. I'm
you
very
just got a
excited to be
ticket back.
here.
Yes.
Well, I don't know.
His
It's
mother
all
made
about
him
getting a
right.
ticket back,
The
right? Ticket out,
FCPS
ticket
award.
back.
All right.
You hear what she said?
What I missed it.
I said he wins the obsequious award.
Oh my God!
Coming back too.
This was supposed to be a friendly show.
That has 4 syllables.
Yes.
That's amazing.
She's having a tough morning.
Yes, you're right. All right, coming up, reliving some of this year's most squawkward moments, in addition to what we just saw. First, though, we're going to get serious, a look at the ups and downs on a